About three and a half months ago in Chicago, you're well aware of something that occurred that, well, the FBI calls a new kind of terror tactic, and that was the tampering with Tylenol that occurred there that resulted in the deaths of several people. And people were predicting that Tylenol and its manufacturing company Johnson & Johnson would go under because of the reputation that resulted from that unfortunate incident. As a matter of fact, they bounced back and bounced back dramatically, and I think one of the reasons is the work of our next guest, who will tell us what in fact the pharmaceutical industry is trying to do to protect the consumer these days. He's the group product director with McNeil, which markets Tylenol for Johnson & Johnson. Please welcome Tom Tully. Good morning. How badly was Johnson & Johnson affected? How far off did sales go in the first weeks subsequent to the killings?
Well, prior to the discovery of the initial murders in Chicago, Tylenol held a market share of about 37% share of over-the-counter analgesic purchases in the U.S. Based on some of the tracking research we've done since then, our share fell to a low, believe it or not, of about 6.5%. Now, of course, since then, that share has began to increase as people became more aware of the actual facts involved in the murders in Chicago.
Now, what in fact was responsible for that? We saw the ads on television, network television, with some physician with
our medical director, Dr. Gates,
glasses and the gray hair, and boy, he laid it on the line. You know, we're sorry for what's happened, and we're doing our best to protect you, and please know that there is no danger any longer.
Well, we knew from talking to consumers and physicians also across the country that there was certainly some confusion early on as to whether or not the tampering that took place in Chicago took place in our plant, or whether, as we now know, it was simply the act of, you know, a deranged individual or individuals in the local Chicago area. So we felt that, you know, it was important to clarify that. Now, certainly the press coverage that we got as the facts became clear helped in that regard too, but we ran for about 8 days the basically public service message from Dr. Gates.
That's something I want to know about the press coverage. You say it helped, but did it also hinder you, because it was a sensational news story? I mean, after all, everybody in the country could relate to it. Everybody has taken an aspirin or an aspirin-like product in their life practically, and it just kind of struck in the hearts of fear. People think, oh, one more thing I have to worry about, the taxes and being raped and robbed and all these things aren't bad enough. I can't even go to my own grocery store or drugstore and not be safe. And that paranoia just swept across the land, and there were some reporters, national reporters, that seized that and really just repeated it and repeated to the point where people say, if they would just let it alone, maybe we won't have the copycat sort of murders. What were your feelings representing the company at that point?
Initially, certainly there was some confusion, and as a result, some misinformation. In talking to one of the major network news stations, during the 2 weeks immediately following the Tylenol tampering incident in Chicago, 20% of the news coverage on that particular network involved Tylenol. So as you say, the story got tremendous coverage in terms of just the volume of coverage that was placed against the story. But we felt it was important initially, and we did. We opened the doors at McNeil and J&J in order to provide accurate information to the press, and through the press get accurate information to the public. So I think in net it helped.
In the end. Okay, we want to take a break, and then maybe when we come back, you can tell us about the new packaging and why it's so much safer and how it should relieve our anxieties. We'll return with Tom Tully right after this message.
Talking with Tom Tully, who's with the McNeil Company, which is a subsidiary of Johnson & Johnson, which manufactures Tylenol. And why don't you take us inside a factory right now, and then we'll see how the pills get into the bottles and find out how all the stuff's put together. We'll roll some tape and tell us what's going on.
Okay. Inside of our manufacturing facility now, and what we'll be seeing shortly is the actual packaging process that Tylenol goes through in order to bring it into the new packaging that we'll be looking at here shortly.
Are the capsules manufactured any different way than the tablets?
Well, they're two separate.
But I mean, as far as the packaging, that's the same for both?
Yes, with the exception of one of the seals that we have on the capsule product that is not on our tablet product.
Okay, now what's happening here?
The bottles are being filled there, and the cotton being placed inside the bottle.
That's why you can't get the cotton out. It's being jammed down in the jar.
I think it's important to note that you can also see that our entire manufacturing process is a hands-off process. There are
Yes.
people running the machines, obviously, but once the manufacturing
Now, these
starts,
caps that are being put on, why are they special?
and
They're
here's
being
the
sealed
seal now, as you can see, the shrink-wrap seal that goes over the...
My goodness, that lady's missing a few. Hurry up, hurry up.
Oh, there are enough of them there to get them all.
Oh, I see. This.
Okay, now what makes
This will
that...
be automated ultimately, this process.
I see, but what makes this seal actually seal itself?
Well,
I mean,
you'll
what
see
makes
it
the
goes
plastic?
through a hot air, almost like a hair dryer, a giant hair dryer.
Oh, so the
that,
heat causes it
hot,
to...
hot air, and it shrinks
condense.
the plastic wrapper around the lip of the bottle.
That's new now. That's a new step.
This is new. Now, underneath the cap of the bottle also, there's a foil seal that was put on when you saw the caps being put on, and that actually fuses
So we're talking
across
about
the top of the bottle.
right now. We're talking about two new seals that have been added
Right.
up to this level.
Across the lip of the bottle, then the plastic seal, as you can see here, being shrink-wrapped around the lid of the bottle.
Okay.
There's
Now,
some
of course,
slow
if any
motion.
of these seals are removed or handled
tampered
in any
with.
way, it'll be clearly evident to the purchaser.
But there's no way that a person could open a bottle now without your seeing it, having been opened. I mean,
Correct.
Well, I wonder, along the same lines, with all these precautions, how much more difficult it is to get into the bottle.
This is the third level of seal. Now, this is the boxes, the end flaps of the boxes now are being tightly glued.
All right.
So they're actually
they used to be
levels.
just folded in, but
Folded in, right.
but now they're being. So you're talking about
Yes.
3 additional.
3 levels of safety.
I've got
clips going through
one of the new
Okay.
Right.
containers here. Now, let's.
You just opened it by the.
This is what
pulling
your
it.
basic childproof.
That's the first level, right?
I'm worried already. Oh, now
Okay.
we appreciate the safety you're going through these days. And the first level is the sealing of the box. Okay.
Correct.
Next thing, you extract the bottle, which has this plastic seal on it. Oh,
Right.
by the way, it's got a perforated line here so that you can go ahead and remove that fairly easily. It doesn't
that
look
comes
as if
off
anybody
once.
could possibly tamper with it at this point.
It can't be replaced once it's taken off, too, which is
Right.
important.
throw
to
it?
note.
Good. I don't know. It's down on the floor someplace. Shirley, go ahead and fish for it. Now you open
Okay.
this. Now you open it up, and you can see inside. Now there is the seal.
This is almost a
aluminum
type of-
foil seal that you.
You're doing something there, Cliff, that in fact the package is designed so you can't do it. It's not glued, it's actually fused to the plastic. You
That's
have
right.
to puncture
I cannot do
the
this.
foil seal.
If I was
in
trying to
order
sneak
get-
something in there, I
You
could
can't
not do
do
that.
it.
Well, that's
You
good.
can't peel it off and re-glue
I
it.
can't
How do you
even get
punch
through
it?
it.
You gotta push through
Good
it.
heavens.
There
Okay.
it is.
Now, there's my favorite part, because once you get down in here, don't you hate to go to the medicine
Boy, you're
cabinet?
messy. You're throwing it all over here. This,
Well,
this,
see,
this
wait a minute. Let
top.
me make the point about going to the medicine cabinet, which is when you're, it's like 1 in the morning, and you can't get the coffee. And you haven't got a
You have
fork or a
such
knife
big
or
fingers.
tweezers. You finally
very well.
you extract it, and there it is.
And there it is,
Okay.
correct.
All right, now that's certainly quite different than the other type,
There
which
you have
we
it.
have an old bottle here, just as you snap off the top, and that was
well,
all
the
there was
bottles
to
are
it.
still the same, and of course they've always been, and that package is too child resistant, which is important. Our packaging is child resistant as well as now, of course, tamper resistant.
Okay.
This has been a tough show today. Mind if I keep these?
You're welcome to.
You know, now, a lot of people who take Tylenol or aspirin-like products are people who have arthritis and arthritis of the hands, which makes it restrictive for them to have that kind of movement.
Yeah.
I'm sure
This
that was a
is,
consideration that you had to have.
This is certainly part of the trade-off that we had to make, and all drug manufacturers will be making, because, as you know, all over-the-counter products will be in safety-sealed packaging ultimately. Ours, of course, is among the first to be packaged that way. But you're right, there's a trade-off there.
Now, this type of the outer seal,
Yes.
which went on the top, it almost is like what you would find on a bottle of some beverage, like wine, for example, or something of that nature. So
very
you can
similar.
really almost feel the seal and when you take off the air coming out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what about the warning on any labels on this? Are you telling
Yeah,
people to...
the package that Cliff has a yellow label on the back that clearly
It says-
identifies to the purchaser.
Do not use if safety seals are broken. Barely
Right.
can read that there. And
And it obviously would be evident if any of those seals had been tampered with. And we're in fact embarking on what we consider to be a very major consumer education program in conjunction with the government, the Food and Drug Administration, to counsel consumers about the new steps that they have to take now in purchasing medications.
speaking of that, other products are also susceptible and vulnerable to
Yes,
tampering.
unfortunately true.
You can't, I don't know, can you do this kind of precautionary measure or something similar to this with most products that you buy in a drugstore?
It's certainly with drug products, most drug products, yes. This kind of tamper-resistant packaging can be
Anything in a bottle
implemented.
really could have the same
Yeah.
sort of seal that you talk about.
Correct.
You know, the frightening thing about this, and I even hesitate to bring this up, but this particular incident really opened the door to tampering with anything that you buy as a
Well,
consumer.
that's-
I mean,
that's
not
very
just, you
true.
know, not just pharmaceuticals, produce in the stores, I mean, even your hardware store, someone that really wanted to get in there and do some damage to somebody by putting metal shavings in the gumball machine or something. I mean, it's
Any number of
conceivable
possibilities.
that that kind of thing could happen.
Yeah. I think it's important to note also, Cliff, that although we have done, I think, taken extraordinary steps to make our packaging tamper-resistant, there's really no way to make a product, ours or any other, tamper-proof.
No.
And that then becomes the responsibility now of the
And
purchaser.
of course, this costs. I mean, you've had to stop your
sure.
manufacturing. You've had to add this extra amount, and is that cost going to be transferred to the customer?
Ultimately,
It has to.
the tape that we saw from the plant shows a lot of hand work that's being
extra
done
labor.
now, extra packaging work that's being done. When that's fully automated, the additional cost per package will be about 2.5 cents. But we are absorbing that cost at McNeil and J&J. There will be no pass-through on that.
Thank you for coming today and explaining it to us. And we certainly,
Appreciate the
as
opportunity.
consumers, I think I can speak for most people, that we're very grateful that you responded so quickly, because a lot of people do depend upon aspirin-like drugs for their day-to-day existence, and we do appreciate it. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Tom Tully. We'll return with more of Northwest Today after this message.